They will discuss, you know, their startup capital, how they're going to fund their business, how many products they need to sell, and how are they going to get that startup capital. So they may borrow the money from the Parent-Teacher Association, for example, and then pay that back, possibly with a little bit of interest. So it's like a loan to get their business started. They will come up with their marketing plan, their product, price, place, promotion, what they're going to call their business, the branding, the logo, and then they will have then a sales event as well, where we would organise events all across Northern Ireland, typically in shopping centres, where they will have a stall. For the younger age group, this age group, 9, 10s, 11s, they might, just for child protection purposes, they might just have a fair in their school and invite the parents in, where they would have a stand to just, you know, sell their product. So they would record, so they would consider things like health and safety, the setup, how they're going to display their business, advertising, how they're going to pitch to a potential customer, how they're going to manage their money. I don't know if float translates, does it? You know, so that they have a steady amount of money in their box, enough to give change for whatever they might be purchasing. And then they would record all their sales. Then they would evaluate their business, how it went, what went well, you know, even better if we did this. And then at the back then, we've split it into different teams, and they would have checklists of, you know, right, by the end of, so they run this over 7 weeks, and they would have checklists to say, right, okay, so we've completed this, you know, we're all ahead. The events team would have a list, the managing director, who's the leader of the company, would have a list, finance would have a list, etc., etc. And then alongside that, then, which is the toolkit part, is the volunteer and teacher guide. So essentially for each session within the programme, the teacher or volunteer will have specific instructions as to how to facilitate that session. So if we look at session 4, for example, it'll have, it tells you how long you need to give to that, so that's 1 hour 15 minutes. It'll tell you a general overview of what you're going to cover in that session, the materials that you'll need for that session, the objectives of it, what you'll need to prepare in advance of that session. Then it goes down into the detail then of how to introduce the session to the young people, how to what page in the journal to refer to, and how to talk them through creating their own marketing plan, and then to summarise and review. So that's for each session to go alongside the book, and then at the end of it they will get a certificate of achievement, which will map to the curriculum of Northern Ireland, which outlines how essentially teachers, what they need to teach. Yeah. And it covers things like communication, managing information, working with others, using maths. So this programme, they set up a real business. Mm-hmm. And that's the toolkit that we give our teachers. That's just the entrepreneurship programme. There is other programmes which are more, I guess, similar to this in that they're not doing it in the real world. So for example, in this programme here, which is Our World, there's an activity where they learn about global trading. So they have to produce shapes like, let me see. Okay. So they have to produce shapes, triangle, square, octagon, and then each country, so that you'll have maybe 6 groups within the classroom. They'll all take on a different country. Some countries are richer, some are okay, and some are much poorer. And they will have to use the resources that they have for that country. So perhaps maybe for USA, they have everything they need to produce the shapes, but perhaps for Bangladesh, maybe they only have, you know, a ruler and a pencil, you know, so they will have to borrow money to purchase the items that they need to create the shapes, and essentially they create money, they sell these shapes to the UK, and they generate money for their country. And sometimes you would find the lesson in this is not necessarily the more resources you have, the richer you'll get, because actually the poorer countries do quite well because they look after their resources better, and they can actually, it will take them a wee bit longer, but they get to be more profitable later on. So it's just one activity where they're kind of simulating a business example in the classroom. And again, alongside that, there is a teacher volunteer guide to facilitate that activity and to direct that activity in the classroom, so the students experience that. And alongside that, then after they've completed the programme, they get their certificate and they get to identify where they have developed certain skills within the programme. So that's, yes, that's, I guess, in a nutshell. So.